Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 422, and today we're doing battle in a daily rumble standard best of 3 gauntlet. And so, as this video is released, the Runeterra Open should be starting if you're in NA, and it should be finishing up if you're in APAC, somewhere in the middle if you're in EMEA. But hopefully this can hit you and get to you before the event starts if you're looking for a little guidance before it gets here. And so, to cut to the chase, I'll talk more in depth about our deck lists tomorrow at the release of our Runeterra Open video. But the idea that we have with this format is that the Mount Targon Fizz deck is going to be the most popular deck in the format. It's quite not bad, but it's weaker against the champion strength decks. And so what I'm going to do is just bring 3 champion strength decks to try and overcome the Reaver's Row decks. We're going to tie in the silences to help give us an advantage there, and then we're going to look to ban outright of negation decks. And so what it kind of looks like to me is the decks like Scouts, the decks like Elites, they all perform pretty well against Mount Targon Fizz. They also have pretty decent matchups against Karma Set. They are weak to the likes of the Jin Bandle City decks, but we're going to look to ban that out. And then from there, the decks where we have a bit of weakness are going to be things like Aatrox Vayne, which we're hoping to pick up a little bit of edge with our silences that also destroy equipment. And so that's the general idea. Again, we'll talk about this a little bit more in depth in tomorrow's video, but that's what we're doing today is the Triple Champion Strength package. And so to bring up the deck list real quick, first and foremost, we're going to be playing Scouts. We covered off on Scouts 2 videos ago, Battles with Bust number 420. We brought Scouts back out to the world, and I've been quite happy with this deck list. It's something that can flood the board quite easily, and so it gets a lot of advantages out of these Champion Strength and Inspired Lights. I'm pretty excited to be playing Scrutinizing Sergeants across the board. That's in all of our decks as well, and it has a lot of early game board control between the Fleet Feather Trackers and the Petricite Broadwings. And so I'm quite happy with the things coming out of this deck. If you're not familiar with what's happening here, you're looking to just get 6 units on the board and then boost them with something. And so we have the Inspired Light, the Vanguard Sergeant, and the Champion Strength to give all of our units the boost. And then at the wild card, as we did kind of mention, we have the 2 copies of Silence and Suppress, 1 copy of Purify as way to try and stop the opposing units that have been given boosts from the Siren Song. Up next, we have Bard Garen. This is the Elites deck. Very similar collection of cards across the board. Does still carry the Vanguard Sergeants and the Scrutinizing Sergeants that you saw in the previous list. It still has our 3 Champion Strength, 3 Form-Ups, 2 Silence and Suppresses, and 1 Purify. But this deck has a much bigger unit package with the Elites coming out. And so still a very similar idea. Much less interactive since it doesn't have the challengers like we saw out of the Scouts deck, but it just gets more stats between the birds and the bards and all the bonuses that the elites get, and so it can have a little bit higher impact in terms of units at the cost of interactivity. Still has that big core that we're looking for. Last but not least, we have Teemo Tristana. This is something we covered off on our last video. Again, carrying off a lot of the same ideas and concepts. We have the Champion Strengths, the Form-Ups, the Silence and Suppress, and the Purify. Same numbers across the board, the 3 Vanguard Sergeants, and then a full 3 Scrutinizing Sergeants in this deck as well. And so it has that same kind of idea and strength as to where we're going to try and get 6 units on the board. We're going to buff them all, and then we're going to attack and hopefully just win the game from that point. The kind of differences that you get out of Teemo Tristana are the search out of Tristana with Scrutinizing Sergeant is incredibly powerful. I love having that kind of aspect to the deck, and it also has all of these equipment-based units with the Combat Cook and the Wandering Shepherd. Not only do they combo with Tristana to be able to give her Overwhelm or give her Scout, the equipments are doubly strong against opposing silences since you can't silence off the stats and abilities that come from an equipment. And so those are the decks. Again, we'll talk a little bit more about the lineup in tomorrow's video as we play the Runeterra Open. Just wanted to give you a little bit of a primer as to what we're going to be doing today before we jump in. Oh, man, you know what I almost forgot? I almost forgot to go and pay the pay-to-win price. Hang on, back this up. I knew what we needed to hit. I was going to go and hit the Silence and Suppress. That one is not yet premium, but something that we need to be getting in full force as these games go on. And so there we go. I knew we could do it. I knew we wouldn't forget. Now we're ready for battle. The Elites, the Scouts, the Yordles, Champion Strength all abound. Let's jump on in. Okay, good stuff, good stuff. So let's see what turns up. And so the way I'm going to really kind of approach the pick and bans in these style of decks, there are some off-meta decks in this one with whatever Udyr Garen is doing and then the dragons at the end, but the spells we don't want to see the most are going to be Rite of Negations or Denies or the Disciple that transforms. And so there's a pretty decent chance that there's going to be both Rite of Negations and things like Ruination coming out of the Nasus deck, so that's the one that we certainly want to get off of the board. Okay, let's dive on in, see how things go. No Siren Songs in this opposing lineup, but maybe we'll still get some usage out of our silences here. Okay, and so a reasonable enough start with the Broadwing and the Mirai Warden give us something to do in the early game. We'll mulligan away everything else and look for some interactivity and unit bonuses. Picked up a little bit of everything here. Looks good. Oh, the silences coming through. It's very important to note what these silences, have the potential to do as they turn up in a matchup to where they're not very good. And, this isn't terrible. Getting a silence onto this garbage unit, right? Turning Herald of Dragons into a 1-2 can really throw off the opposing curve, and now they're just stuck with this garbagey unit, right? And so while that's not really worth a full card in most matchups, I think that that's pretty okay in this spot. So now I'm just going to look to add in Vanguard Sergeant. We don't have to get too crazy with this combat. Hopefully, opponent's not going to play cards to where they get potentially good combats here. But he did have the 3-4. Nothing we can do about that, but we have the 4 Demacia in hand now, and so we can look to really just pop off on our next combat. So to cast 4 Demacia on the next one, we'll need to take a 1 bank. The mana doesn't work out perfectly here, right? We would like to get the Durandi Sculptor and the Mirai Warden on board this turn. We won't quite have the mana to get everything going for that next attack if we pull it off that way, but the at least kind of bonus to things going this way is we're going to have the full 6 units anyways, and so we aren't really missing out on too much. Could look to get involved with Shyvana here, but it's not really the angle I'm looking to take. I want to just get this full board and drop the 4 Demacia. Alright. We math that wrong? How do we math that wrong so hard? it still turns out okay, but man, just slopping it up right from the start. Okay, I think we'll still be fine.
Courage, soldier.
So it'll be a bit of a bummer if opponent has something like Form Up here, but outside of that, the rest of our attacks look pretty good. Kind of leaning towards just hooking the Dragon Guard with our Broadwing, hooking it over to the left. So if he has a Shyvana plus a Form Up on this turn, then she shouldn't be getting the double Fury bonus, right? So we otherwise, we could hook Shyvana with the Broadwing. Opens up a lot of opportunities for failure, though. We've still got 2 mana. Definitely have to worry that Form Up is going to be a thing, but I think if he's going to Form Up something, he's going to be protecting his Shyvana here. Just getting nugged. Okay, works for me. We got this Purify in hand, ready to go on the White Flame Protector. One of the reasons I'm kind of interested in Purify is as you get in these spots like this to where opponent casts the spell onto the Protector, we could just Purify the stats off of it. And so it can be kind of a combat trick. It's not perfectly ideal all the time, but it's got some usage to it besides silencing off your opponent's Divine Clerks. We'll just go ahead and put the takedown on the Protector. Don't need it challenging any of our bros. We should be pretty close to lethaling next turn. It's gonna take a bit of luck in terms of where a Form Up could land, but the thing that went wrong with this was the For Demacia turn. I mean, maybe we should have just played the Island Navigator and then used the form up on the Navigator and got some attacks in that way. I thought that we were going to have all the mana we needed, and I am historically terrible at math. And it came through right there. So, a little bit of a whoopsies, you know. So yeah, we're short of the lethal. We need a unit booster. There we go. That's how the pros do the top decks right there. Just get what you need right when you need it. See if he tries to make a single combat and we can respond with the form up in a positive way. That's what I'd like to see. Oh, he's got all the spells, huh? Not worried about the guiding touch. He does have a single combat. So the form up won't quite work here how we want it to, but we could potentially take down one of these other dragons a little later. Now, I guess the fresh question is, do we actually want to just drop this Island Navigator? We miss out on the unit, but we do need things to go, you know, kind of positively from here. As it stands, like I think we're just going to get into combat. We're going to hook the White Flame Protector out with the Broadwing, and then we're going to form up whatever Shyvana blocks. It's kind of a bummer with this Laurent Duelist hitting the board. It gets to KO one of our 3/2s. Alright, let's take it this way. Maybe we can still fight through this if we only have the one unit remaining on his board. Also a world where he just goes super greed mode and doesn't put forth enough blocks. We're counting on you, Shell Shocker. You're the one out here having to do the work. You got to get the attacks in before the Aurelion Soul comes on board. I hope you can do it. What do we got? Another Inspired Light. Oh, that dude's got Challenger. Missed that. Kind of interesting hit in the Sand Soldier, though. Give us a kind of free block for the round. Maybe not a free block for the round. Getting manhandled by these dragons out here. Only got the lonely Shell Shocker on board. Looking bad for him. Looking bad. Hey, there's our best draw, though. Can't imagine we're able to take it down from here, though. His units are just too big. Okay. So yeah, I don't like how we handled that game. I think we would have been in a reasonable enough spot if we had, on our For Demacia turn, if we just played the Island Navigator, maybe got in a decent scout attack, and then we had the form up to potentially edit some of those combats. I think we just got too aggressive in there. Like I'll talk on occasion about this idea and thought as to where, you know, you make a misplay and then you try to make it look like that misplay was intentional, you know, right? Like your friends are watching you play a game and you mess something up, and then you don't want your friends to think you're a dum-dum. You want them to think you have the biggest brain in the lands of Runeterra. And so even though you misplayed, you try and make it look like you didn't misplay. It wasn't exactly that there, like I'm beyond that in my years, but I did get kind of tunnel visioned in on that we were going to play the Mirai Warden and then we were going to For Demacia. And once we realized we didn't have the mana to do all of that, I think I should have stopped and reevaluated a little bit more. And I think we got just a little bit ahead of ourselves in terms of how we handled that turn. And then things just went downhill from there.
Who goes there?
But I think this is okay. I mean, we can get this Durandi Sculptor on board. Misfortune's going to be pretty strong next turn, or we could have looked to go Broadwing in this round, but I think we're going to be dropping Misfortune and getting the attacks in. Definitely looking towards our Inspired Light as the big high-powered play. Quinn turns up. Okay.
Fortune favors the bold.
I'm just looking to just attack with the Shell Shocker this turn. It should have a pretty good round, and then if opponent has a combat trick of some sort, imagine they didn't play the Mighty Poro, I'm pretty happy to trade Shell Shocker with any combat trick. So, start getting this Misfortune leveled up. And a form up. Not a bad draw. So I'm going to go with the Broadwing in this spot. Assuming we don't lose any units this turn, we'll have the full board next turn with Quinn. And so we don't really need to... don't need to go ham with the Mirai Warden. But I think we're pretty safe here. Getting the Quinn and the Bird and the Inspired Light next turn. Going to have tons of really good attacks. I don't know about you, but I do enjoy tons of really good attacks.
Blessed by snow and stars.
How crazy is this going to be? I think we can just take this. Like, the thing that worries me in these spots is, like, opponent just playing Udyr next turn, right? I think that's what this is going to amount to. He's going to play Udyr, he's going to get the free stance swap, and that's going to be his angle for the round. I think, like, we can just add in Quinn. Now we get a fairly free first attack. We can send Valor into the Omen Hawk. Right, see, there's the Udyr. And then when it comes to our second, like, we can just not attack with Quinn. And then when it comes to our second attack, we can send the Broadwing in. There is some opportunity for this to get, you know, a little messed up. If he wants to play the stance swap onto Udyr and give him 2 health, he'll go up to 6. Oh no, the Broadwing has 5 health now. Who am I kidding? Let's get the squad in here. I was afraid we weren't going to be able to do 6 to the Udyr, but we most certainly can.
Love ya.
All right. This is going to be a good looking attack now. Looking juicy, am I right? I keep seeing this dude's name and thinking it's LeBron. Such a LeBron fan. It's just your brain sees what it wants to see. He goes Ram stance, sure. And if this goes wrong as to where, you know, he's got a 1-mana combat trick to protect the Udyr, we're still in pretty good shape next turn. And so I feel pretty good sending all this stuff in. And if he does have a trick to save Udyr, he's not going to have a trick for this Mighty Poro. And so we should be pretty safe in the remainder of our combats. All right. Coming back with a vengeance. Nice. GG. Because that was too much. Scouts are too much. I'll tell you what my problem with the Scouts deck is. It's something that I've done. I don't know if there's a cure for it, but we have the Star Guardian. The Star Guardian Quinn. There is an Arcade Quinn, but we have the Star Guardian skin, and then we use Arcade Misfortune. And so, like, it's kind of rough with these champions having 2 separate skins out there, but, you know, maybe we just have to double down and buy it and get it over with, you know? Sometimes life's just about coming out here and paying to win, and so sometimes you just gotta pay up. You gotta pay the piper the pay-to-win price, you know? right, delightful looking curve here, though. We got Bird into the 2 elites on turn 2. Vanguard Sergeant can come down on turn 3, and then the Vanguard Squire only cost 1 mana at that point. You all remember the glory days of Trusty Ramhound being an elite? Whew, I miss that stuff, man. I really wish we could drop this Squire on turn 3. Just start doming. Too many people are like, "Ugh, I want to play control mirror matches all day." It's not a match unless my deck has deny in it and the game takes 35 minutes, and I can't have that happen if the trusty Ramhound's an elite. Fuck off. Get that noise out of here. Get that noise out of here. Gonna come in. If he attacks with the Seer, I think we block with Bird. That's kind of tough. Like, we're playing Cytherea next turn, and this turn, and then she doesn't do anything next turn. So there is some argument to just put a damage on him. But probably not worth, right? We already have the Vanguard Sergeant in hand. It's not crazy to think we can't roll around to our turn 5 with a full board and a Vanguard Sergeant, and so we'll keep these units at home. Not a bad pickup in the Badger Bear. Nothing wrong with a 4/4. Look at that. Look at that. Your dude's so tiny, bro. Look how tiny these bros are. 3/3s, please. So tiny. Want to have a dude measuring contest? Is that... Is that what we're getting ourselves into here? Some kind of dude measuring contest? Maybe. But alright, gonna be a fantastic curve, right? We'll play the Vanguard Sergeant. That'll leave us with a 0-cost Vanguard Squire. That 1 banked mana will go into the next round, giving us a total of 6. We've got the 6 units on board. This is tempting to throw a block in front of. I'm really curious why opponent feels like this is a good attack. Right? If you have 1 combat trick, you could force a trade, but then you just outright lose your other unit. Huh. Okay.
Ready to do my part.
I'm not biting. I'm not taking the bait. So reasonable chance we just outright win the game this turn, right? We'll have 10 power from our 2 smallest units. So assuming we play the 4 Demacia, opponent plays a unit, he blocks our 4 bigs, our 2 smalls are still enough to come in for the kill. But even if he has some kind of thing, like he plays a dude and then also has a harsh winds or something, we should still be in such a commanding position that the game is pretty much over from there anyways. So I dig it. I dig it. The dragons did us dirty, but able to take down the Udyr at the end of the day. All right, next round. So what do we got here? Interesting collection. I don't know what's going on with these guys. So we've got the Mono-Shurima that doesn't appear to be a Sundisk deck. Then we have Viego Ornn, which I don't like playing against Viego with these decks, but I think Champion Strength is going to be so super strong here that we can just hang on to it. And then there's this anti-karma thing to the end. Well, we'll just take out the Sundisk deck. Maybe it's a Sundisk deck. We're not entirely certain what it is, but if we're going to fall back to our thought of, well, just ban out the deck that has the denies in it, the Sundisk deck or the Karma deck could have the denies. So one of the two is what I think we want to take down. But seeing Annie in here, I don't think this is going to be an aggro deck of any sort. That's strange. Nonetheless, let's hang on to 1 Badger Bear. I'd like to come out here with a bit of aggression if we can. Trying to. Getting dirty with the dogs, Battle. Play a weapon. Maybe this is going to be a Ravenbloom Tome deck, and we get to blow up the Tome with the Silence and Suppress. Maybe. One can dream, am I right? stats.
That fated day is never
I.e., I'll battle with you. Not, you know, unreasonable to think that he could play Wuju style. That's it. Wuju style into meditate. But I don't think we're ultimately too worried about Yi at the end of the day. And then I think we're going to take this game a little bit slower and just drop Bard. I like the idea of doing this. So here's what my thought is we should be able to just kind of open attack this turn. I mean, maybe you don't even want to open attack. It's like, I don't like the idea of just giving him the opportunity to play more units, but we're not really doing anything else anyways.
A Demacian soldier is worth 10 foes.
Let's just get the stats down.
Ionia speaks
Karma comes
through
in.
me.
Karma can't like this board. We might just get the kill here, right? Apparently so. Get ripped, Karma. Get ripped. So I'm just out here dropping units on the board. What are you gonna do? Run away. Be scared. That's what it sounds like to me. All right. Get to show off Teemo Tristana now. This is one that's really kind of surprised me. Hasn't kind of peeked its nose back into the format. We didn't see too much of the atrocity deck in Eternal. We played a little bit of it. Didn't take it to an open or anything. But I'm surprised it hasn't made its way back into Standard. It was still, to the best of my knowledge, somewhat played last season. Did people play last season? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. We were too busy playing Eternal to jump into the Standard queue, but I thought it might have seen a little play. All right, though. Annie on the board, not really worth interacting here. I think it's fine to let her just do her thing for a bit. Get these Grandfather Fays going. Start loading up on the big Owlcats. I don't think the opponent's going to be too appreciative of the
Baddies beware, Mama's got a gun.
of the owls, right? Just if you're going to play a bunch of single target removals on a bunch of 4/1 spell shielders, it takes a lot of work to take them down. Black Flame onto Annie. Oh my gosh, I don't know what we're seeing, but I love it. I love it. I was planning on, for the turn, just attacking with the Grandfather Fae and the Vandal Commando, banking up the 2 mana, and then going into the next turn with the potential to, like, pie toss Annie if he blocked for whatever reason or something. But man, if we're just going ham, we're just going ham. I'm gonna wait on him to equip this thing, right? Attack, grow my power to that of the strongest equipped ally. He's gonna want to equip this thing, or we're just not gonna care about it. Now, other thing is, do we want to just try and go for this 4 Demacia next turn? I think it's gonna be enough to just end the game. So we'll see. You know, if he just attacks for 4, I don't really care. And we can go for the 4 Demacia, and then if he does play the equipment, then we can make a tempo play and just do the silence and do the 4 Demacia later. Where are you at? Here it is. Here come the big boys. Look out, Nox and Defector. About to get worked. So this should get us 14, and then we have the Pie Toss in hand to get us up that extra point of damage. Make our attack in the real fashion. I don't think this deck's gonna have, like, lifesteal things. He only has 3 mana at this point, so he can't play Barrier Lifesteal, but we should do the little to big attack with our stronger units to the right, I think. Alright, take him to 1. Units all dead. Pie Toss ready to go. Nice. Cue it up. Slam it on the board. How do we get this out here faster? Alright, GG.
to the soldiers. We get paid.
Oh, you can only target units with this dump spell? Oh. You gotta get the second one to hit the face. This is no pokey stick. I'm gonna forget this in the open. It's gonna it's gonna be a problem. Alright, now let's try it. Health potion's not in the format anymore, right? I just kind of quit trying this game because I assumed it was done. I don't think health potion's around. Maybe we should have taken that a little bit more seriously, so we didn't risk just losing because we're giving up on trying. All right, victory unlocked though. On to the next one. Whew. Hope y'all are having a good day out there. Enjoying a little bust on your Runeterra open day. Sounds like a nice little Saturday if you ask me. Nice little Saturday. I don't know where everybody's from in terms of getting this video out on time. It seemed like there for a long time. Back when we were in Expedition, we had a very large European contingent that followed along. I don't know where everybody's at from these days now. Gotta get that Kansas City contingent out here. It's what we need. What we need to get online. If you all want to be a Kansas City Chiefs fan, you're allowed to. Just so you know. I think the Chiefs are coming to Europe in this upcoming year, and so might be something for you to go and enjoy. But nonetheless, into the action here. There is a deck that maybe has denies in it in this Karma Seraphine. But I'm a little bit worried about this just being the kind of stock Sump Monument deck. And I feel like we could probably just beat their Karma. But I think we still just want to kind of follow through with our game plan. I mean, maybe the idea is to take down Lissandra? That can't be the case. Let's just get the Karma out of here. I'm not, it's like, I know the Sump Monument deck should be a pretty reasonable matchup for all of our decks, but it's still just not something I want to play against. It's, I just get like a sinking feeling in my chest as soon as the Sump Monument hits the board. Like, that's not just like hyperbole. That's not something just to say to sound dramatic or something. Like, I have a real physical reaction to my body whenever Sump Monument hits the board. And so that's reason enough to come out and just ban it. But we'll give it a shot. We'll see how things go. So what do we got here? A Durandi Sculptor and a Misfortune. Reasonable enough start for the curve. I'd like to have a little bit more interactivity than this, but I think the thing that would be the worst for us is if we just take a mulligan and then land on like 3-drop, silence and suppress, form up, and you just can't really do anything. And so while it's not the most idealist of curves with the Durandi Sculptor into Misfortune, I think they're strong enough to just hold on to. So I think my thought and feel in this matchup is you just do everything that you can to prevent all the damage that you can, and then you should be able to just kind of hope for the best from there. Like, we're pretty fine in terms of just throwing away units and stuff, just as a means of kind of self-preservation, if you will. Right? We can pretty easily refill our board, and so I like just throwing our units away if they're attacking with the random 2/2s or the 3/3s and stuff. And so if that makes itself known, we'll certainly chase it down. Not expecting to see Trixie Tentacles. Interesting.
No prey. No
I just
prey.
assumed this was an automatic Mystic Shot onto the Durandi Sculptor.
Oh, if mushrooms could talk.
I'll have what he's having.
Alright, damage time. This also qualifies as just preventing as much damage as possible, right? If we get to take this Puffcat Peddler off of the board, it dies wherever you block, and so I'm a-okay with kind of throwing away our Misfortune if it means these puff caps aren't going to come into our deck, especially as this unaccounted for Teemo is just hanging out on the board. It's definitely a realistic possibility that opponent just churns off a few spells on his turn this round and gets to do a bunch of damage. But looks like we should be safe. You know, he lost his peddler, so we don't have to worry about a Teemo flip this turn. Ideally, I guess you can play 2 physical mushroom clouds at this point, but I don't think this deck typically plays them.
Armed and ready.
Alright, damage is in. There is, you know, like a real question in this spot as to what we should be doing with this champion strength. Like, should we just come in and play it next turn? And, I mean, that's tough. I think we just get such a big hit 2 turns from now using the champion strength that it's okay. And now the Fleet Feather Tracker, you know, it's not super tempting. If you're not familiar with the Scrutinizing Sergeant, if it hits a Fleet Feather Tracker or 2, that unit actually comes onto the board first, and then it gets the Challenger, and then the Sergeant hits place second. So we had the opportunity to hit the Fleet Feather Trackers, hit the Petricide Broadwings as a way to come in and challenge down this Teemo for the turn. Sitting here doing the finger math. What spells can I cast to go along with my Sump Monument? What can I cast? Eclectic Collection. Oh, snap. That was not on my radar.
Success is planting your mushroom.
Alright, well, we're definitely taking down this Teemo. Not letting that nonsense happen. Are we just lethal? Might be pretty close. 6. I think we are. You can block a 4. Looks like he'll take 15. Alright.
Love ya.
Whew. Still gets my heart rate up, man. It's not what I want to see.
That's how we do things in Bilgewater.
That's how we do things in Bilgewater. Ask Misfortune how we do things. Just like that. Alright, now we got the Teemo Tristana. I talked a little bit about the Teemo Tristana deck in relation to the Sump Monument deck in our previous video, because I kind of start considering, like, would I prefer just to play 2 Teemos, right? Because the second Teemo you draw is so bad, and he's not, like, winning any combats anytime soon. But it's kind of like between the Teemos and then the Bandle Commandos and the Pytosses, it gives us a few different ways to actually kind of come in and get in front of opposing Teemos or opposing Fizzes and the like. And so I feel like if I was going to replace it with a Pytos, I don't feel like I really want to do that, but that's one of the spots I'm still not like 100% certain on with this deck. But it's like I also don't want to just play Gnar. You know, if we have the high power of the Scrutinizing Sergeant, I like him to have really good targets, and Gnar doesn't add into the potential targets to where, you know, a Teemo with a champion strength getting 2 scout attacks in can just nug your opponent for 10 and then put in a shitload of puff caps. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot of work that little Teemo can do, and so I don't know. I think you just got to ask yourself, would I rather just go for the highlight reel? And the answer to that is probably just always yes, you know? All right, no turn 1 from opponent. Do we want to start building up these Bandle Commandos? It's probably safe here. I'm trying to think of what the opposing units should look like. And I guess it's like, I guess he didn't play the Frozen Thrall on the first turn. But these kind of decks typically play a lot of those 2/2s for 2s, right? There's the one that puts the Frozen Thrall on the board, and then there's the other one that reduces countdown. And so we're probably safer with just a Bandle Commando here. Seems like opponent may have deposited their phone in the toilet, though. May not be here to enjoy this game. Happens sometimes, you know. You just put that phone right in there. No, he's back. Okay. He said, "Sorry, Bust. I had to take a pee break. It took me a little bit longer. I had to do a little bit of dribble cleanup, you know." I'm sure that's exactly what opponent's saying. Don't mind me, Bust. I just pissed on myself a little bit.
I got your 6 short cakes.
So I'm going to go ahead and just throw down the Tristana. I think she should be safe in this match, right? I don't think they really have anything that's going to kill her. And getting these bonus stats and all the units that we're about to play, reasonably important as we're up against this Lissandra that's now hit the board. And so I think I'm okay with it. It's usually, kind of greedy to do stuff like that, but I don't know. It's about to pop off.
Proud and loud.
Send in these 3. Leave Tristana at home. I don't want her to run into just a random combat trick or something. No reason to lose her to a ruthless predator. Who knows what's coming out of this opposing deck, and so leave her at home. But we still have this 1 point of real mana. When the Bandle Commando hits, we should get the fresh Owlcat. Go ahead and get it on the board. Might just be Buster shotting the Lissandra as well. Now that she's down to 1. I'm curious how critical that is. We're back in this spot to where if we want to Ford Demacia, we need to have 1 mana banked up on our where are we at? It'll be turn 6 next time on our next attack, so we could just play it. But we won't be able to both Scrutinizing Sergeant and Vanguard Sergeant. I think we probably still just want to play the Scrutinizing Sergeant. It's so choice. If we manage to hit another Tristana, and then even if we don't hit a Tristana, we might hit another Vanguard Sergeant. Hitting a Weapon Master is not terrible. I think it'll be okay.
In dreams, she beckons.
That's pretty scary. So he's going to have 2 Thralls on the board next turn. Nothing we can do about that. And I think we just got a high roll. What do you got, Sergeant? Not what we're really looking for. It's tempting. There is the Grandfather Fae. That's just we're going to have to kind of go through a few units here, just kind of blocking and stuff. And so having it generate the owls is kind of nice. I don't think the Wandering Shepherd's going to do anything. Alright. Here they come. Freak out, squad. Freak out. Do we want to try and get our Tristana up to 8? I mean, she can get a ton of stats this round. That's probably just too greedy.
Serving lead.
I do want to start wearing these Frostguard Thralls down just a little bit. And if he makes a block with Draklorn Inquisitor, we might be able to kill it as well. But I don't think just the single Bandle Commando attack is enough here. We have to start getting our Tristana leveled up.
Ages pass, but I am eternal.
How bad is this? What's this Lissandra do?
I do so love when my
Summon a
people
Thrall,
call me
advance
that.
it 2, whatever. Round start, make an Ice Shard. Okay. Well, there's a 4 Demacia to our hand. Gives us that option. Maybe we end up playing it next turn just kind of defensively, and then we look for another 4 Demacia 2 turns from now. The Watcher. He's got to watch out for the Watcher, right? He's only at 2 of 5 at this point.
I'm Tristana, and I take point.
So dude gets an Ice Shard. It won't kill any of our units, but That's still a fairly strong card. Very curious if we get to drop 4 Demacia here, though. Don't. It says no, sir. You're not allowed to bust. So he should be putting this Ice Shard on the stack. Even without it, I mean, he's short of lethal. We could just let it... No, you can't just let it go. He'll Ice Shard us next turn.
By her grace.
Hey, hurry up so I can shoot you again.
Not looking good, Fam Jam. Not looking good.
I am inevitable.
And a Lissandra attack. Wow. Okay.
You will not prevail.
So how much can we fit back on the board this turn? We don't have to block the Lissandra. I don't think we're going to get anything out of that. I do like the block onto the Inquisitor because we can kill it for 1 mana. But I think that's where we stop. I mean, I guess... No. I keep envisioning these blocks like we put Tristana in front of Lissandra. And then it just... then I'm just like, oh, he's got the Ice Shards. He's going to keep doing that. So we can't realistically make that play. God, it's going to be so strong next turn, though. I mean, maybe we just had to. Right? I mean, he's going to Ice Shard. He's going to get in. Oh, he's okay. I guess that's a thing. He played the double damage guy. Sure. But as I kind of like reassessed our units and we're going into the next turn only having a bunch of 2 health units on the board that are going to be like -1 health off of that Lissandra. That's kind of questionable. That's tough. It's tough spot. I don't... that's like one of those matches where I start to think to myself, it's like, it is interesting that we're out here just playing all of these silences, right? See, like, how sick is it if your opponent is like, okay, I've got this all set up. I've got these 2 Frozen Thrall towers with like 3 and 4 countdown, and I play my Draklorn Inquisitor, and you're just like, alright, silence. Is that worth 1 mana and a card? Abso-fucking-lutely. And so it's like I've just run into so many spots over the past few days to where, you know, I don't have particularly high expectations for the silences, but find so many weird spots where they're so good. Now this match just got real losable real fast, and so I was mulliganing for a 2-drop, right? We had that handful of 3s, and you don't really want to be starting with Tristanas and Wandering Shepherds, so I mulliganed everything looking for a 2. Didn't find any. I mean, we have an answer to Teemo in the pie toss, which is kind of cool, but definitely wish we had units instead. Let's see what we can do. Alright, let's just remove it. I didn't... If you asked me, was double pie toss onto Puff Cap Pup on your bingo card for the year? It was not. It was not on my bingo card, and so the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, man. I don't know if we would ever make that play even in like Expedition. Puffcat Pup was weird in Expedition. That was it during the era to where they just fucked it all up. That's probably not fair to say. I think that they knew Expedition was going away, and they just updated it the best they could before they had the champion strength to kind of deliver the final blow. And I think that what I'm getting at is in that era they put things like Puffcat Pup into some of the archetypes, but the dual region stuff was kind of messed up. Or he's just a Bandle City, right? And so you couldn't... The only way that you could get the Puffcat Pup was if you were playing like the Teemo archetype, but then you also drafted Bandle City, and then the Puffcat Pup could turn up. And so it was a very challenging card to actually acquire in Expedition, if it was even in the game. I don't actually remember if it was in the game or not. It was in the archetype lists, but I'm not certain if it was acquirable. All right, well, this game's happening, and so the equipment that we were hoping for here is something in the space of combat reel. You don't really want to be picking up Shepherd's Authorities. It's just one of the worst equipments, but my main concern in this spot was if we took the Scout equipment and then he just has literally any removal spell. He gets to take the unit off of the board, where the Wandering Shepherd does let us come in and do a bit of work. So, I was ideally hoping that we would have been able to, get the Shepherd on board, attack, gets the mana back, be ready with a pastry if opponent drops a Teemo. But you see how bad this would have been, right? If we had that Scout unit and then he got to drop the Poison Dart on it, that would have just been straight disaster mode. Straight disaster mode. Now I'm curious if we'll get to drop the Combat Cook. He's ready to block. What do you got? Let's go with the Sandstorm Amulet. Just kind of keep up this idea of having our units be defensible. Like, we have all these champion strengths. We just got to get to the point to where we can play one. So we'll see how that goes. This Teemo is not going to flip before this combat, so that's not a problem for the moment. Although it is a bit of a bummer, we're not going to be able to just like directly pastry him. We can play both and take down the flip Teemo, but it's so slow. Maybe we're just stuck in that spot. I don't know. We can be pretty defensive in the face of this Teemo, right? We can go. It will be a mana short of double pastry along with the commando. Right, I like seeing the Bandle City Mayor turn up, but he's just a little bit too slow here. The way I'm going to take this, I'm going to drop in the commando. I'm going to load it up with whatever the Wandering Shepherd can give it, and then that will be the space that we can try and take over here.
Well,
let's see, actually. Let's not do it that way. Let's not do it that way. I'll just try and take the Teemo down now. If he has the second Teemo, then we can potentially block it with Bandle Commando, but Quicken, that's fine. Same kind of deal. We at least still have our Commando ready to stop that flipped hit. I'm not too worried about this stuff unless it's a flipped hit coming in, and that's where things go south really fast. Right now we're at 22 puff caps, so it's just like, I don't know, 2 out of 3 cards in our deck have a puff cap on them. That's not that big of a deal. But when it gets to that point to where you have like 1.5 puff caps and they're like, cool, Karina, that's when you really start to get nugged in terms of damage.
let's investigate.
Ooh, and Teemo doesn't come down. Okay. So with this, we want to take a 2-bank out of this turn if we want to play a Champion Strength next turn, or we can look to just Champion Strength on our opponent's attack token for the rally. And I'm not entirely convinced that he's playing the Sump Monument. And so I think there is some merit in looking to build up to a couple of turns from now. Piltover Castaway is very interesting. He lets us get additional units on the board.
I should make a speech.
Right, so we can play the Castaway for 2, and then bank back to 2 mana. Is it? Is that right? We'll be at 7 next turn. We need to 2-bank. These mathematics are so hard to do. I think we're okay without the Champion Strength next turn. I think we'll just get 6 units on board and slam. So I'm going to look to add Tristana this turn. We'll play the Owlcat this turn since it's going to be free. Start getting those additional stats out and about. Ava Achiever. Alright, never mind. We're just going to champion strength. And so we'll come up with something eventually in terms of a final game plan, right? But the thing I'm kind of eyeballing here is we do have the Bando Commando on board. And yes, like he can get one block from Teemo onto the Bando Commando, but it's just like a lot to have to answer with this champion strength hitting the board. Even landed the Overwhelm on the Castaway now. So we'll see if the Monument comes down. That's what I'd love to see right here. But this is, oh Jesus. This is why I was kind of leaning towards playing, oh, we fell to 1? Oh man. Oh, and then he's got, shit.
Is excellent.
So how does this work? He has the Caitlyn. So he's going to be able to play Teemo after this attack. I think we can still get a draw. Alright, so we hit with this dum-dum. That takes him to 4. He plays Teemo.
How goes the training, Scout? I'm so excited
Now,
I could explode.
this is where it's a problem, right? We can attack with the Bando Commando.
Loud and loud.
We can attack with this guy. I think that gets us a draw, but he has the Karina to block the Piltover Castaway and only fall to 1. I don't think this does what you want, my dude. You gotta put the Karina out here. Let's find out. So he went to 0 first, and then I think we win. Or is this gonna be a tie? It's a tie. I don't know what happens there in this spot. Playing in a best of 3 when you tie in game 3? It's apparently a victory. Okay. God, I hate this deck so much. I hate it so much. But alright. Interesting collection here. I think coming out of these, like, Aatrox Kayn is the one that gives our deck a bit of a fit, but I actually want to play some games against Aatrox Kayn. I'm curious to see how it feels with our equipment removal coming out, and so I want to leave it up and just see how, you know, Silence and Suppress makes its way through this game. If we like it, if we don't, I feel like against this particular lineup, Aatrox Kayn is the ban. Like I'm not super scared about this lineup that the opponent's bringing. Like I think we're fine against elites. I think we're fine against whatever that Sejuani PNZ deck was, but the thing I think we're going to run into a lot in this event is we're going to play, an opponent that has like Aatrox Kayn, but then they also have the Jhin deck, and in that case we're just banning out the Jhin deck and we have to play this matchup. And so it's something that, you know, we don't actively get to play a ton of, and I'd like to just, you know, put the tip in. As we were talking about people in countries that aren't America, I'm curious if that term holds over. the just put the tip in. It's an American phrase. It's a sexual phrase. Just put the tip in regards to a sexual situation. You know, it's putting the tip of your penis in a sex hole, if you will. Just to see what it feels like, you know. But I'm not certain if that carries over to outside the U.S.
All things can be
But back to the game, back to the action. If you didn't catch what that attack was, we had 12 power of units that his unit couldn't kill, and so if he did come in with an attack,
the child is gone. The killer remains.
Do we even care about this Kayn's equipment? I don't think we do. But on that last turn, if he blocked our 2-2, we would have lethaled him. So we knew we could get the trade and take him down to 1 here. But this Kayn, I don't think we want to blow that equipment up. He just like gets it right back, doesn't he? Like if the Kayn goes to your hand and then you replay it, you just get a fresh Darkened Scythe that's not really worth killing. So can he stop us from lethaling here? So if you imagine that he has... I don't think he can. Well, I guess there is a chance, right? My concern with dropping Garen is that he has Aatrox, but we beat Aatrox. And so where we had to stop for is if he has the double Frostbite and he has the double 1 damage ping, he can double 1 damage the Bell Ringer, block our 2 bigs, or freeze our 2 bigs, and then block the 2 remaining units and not actually get killed here. And so I think the Garen's just way safer. Since if he's going to spend that full 7 mana, then we'll be okay once the Garen's on the board. And then if he just plays Aatrox, we win anyways. So, sounds good to me. Alright, so yeah, Aatrox Kayn, we drew the Silence and Suppresses and then just didn't want to play them, so... Good stuff. Good stuff. Alright, next battle. Oof. Just put the tip in. If you're a youngster out there, go ask your parents what that means. So, hey Ma, I was watching YouTube videos and he kept saying just put the tip in. What does that mean? I'm curious to what kind of answer you get. Alright, end of the battles here. I think I'm okay to hang on to Bandle Commando and mulligan the rest. I would like to find a cheaper unit to go along with it. We found some Bandle Commandos that we can throw down on turn 2. Our Sejuani. Why is this deck a P&Z deck?
You best believe I don't play.
Alright, always coming at us with the Poros. Gonna get us with the snacks. Poro snacks is not a problem on this turn, right? The Bandle City Mayor just gets into combat and doesn't care. So I think I dig that. Gets so many combat cooks going. In this spot, I'm leaning towards the Proto Poro. It kind of sucks as a unit, but like if we just want to throw down a blocker, he's gonna be decent at it. It's just maybe that was a mistake, but. It just kind of feels like we already had 2 combat cooks, so the third one wasn't as good. Maybe we should have just picked up the 5/5, and then that would have been a little bit more effective. Nom nom.
Absolutely. Top hole.
Alright, so looking at this, I don't think we're going to play 4 Demacia next turn, so there's no reason to go for the Vanguard Sergeant. We're not going to have 5 units on board. Right, we can get close. We get 4, but I think this is more of just, let's add Tristana, we'll add the Hungry Outcat. Next turn we'll add a Combat Cook. Try and get this initial chunk of damage in, and then in 2 turns we'll play the Vanguard Sergeant. That was a pretty choice draw in the form-up as well. Letting us protect our Tristana here. So I went with the Scout. Scout's a very powerful thing to have with the Tristana on board. Get the big Scout attacks next turn and the 4 Demacia. Got the opportunity for greatness. I don't know about you, but I like the opportunity for greatness. Okay. So we do, like, I'm already like looking ahead to this 4 Demacia turn. We do have to worry about various frostbites to a degree, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think we're okay at the moment. There's the combat cook with the pot of paint. Very strong block in the face of Gnar. So I'll just block. If he attacks, I'll just block with whatever. I want to get the Vanguard Sergeant on board this turn. And so I just want to throw something away. You did your job, Protoporo. We're all proud of you. The things you did.
Discipline and steel.
Gnar gets a flip. Now, we are like so close to flipping this Tristana. It's tempting to start throwing some more units on the board. Oh, champion strength. Never mind. I'll just play that one. I'll play that one instead. Here come the scouts. And so in this spot, it's like even if he has answers to the Tristana and stuff, we should be able to get a kill with the 2 attacks from the commando and then 1 point of impact. So even if he, say, flash froze our 2 impact units, on our 2nd attack we could just play another dude and give it the impact and try and finish that way. All right. So good stuff. Glory achieved. Victory unlocked. I was pretty happy with how this went. And again, the big things that I'm really kind of looking for with this is getting a feel for how the silence and suppress really kind of goes in these formats. I know that this was kind of like a weird set of games given that we didn't play against the Fizz deck whatsoever. We didn't see any Jhin. But as you run into these Runeterra Opens, you are going to go through like 4 or 5 rounds to where you do just play a bunch of off-meta stuff. And so you have to be kind of ready for that as well. I don't really like specifically designing lineups that are saying like, okay, this deck is really good against Fizz. We're going to play Fizz, and then we're going to play Fizz like 7 matches, and we're going to 14-0 Fizz. Like, number one, you're not going to 14-0 Fizz. Fizz is going to have nut draws that just crush you, and you're going to lose. And so from that degree, I don't like it, but you also just don't play against those decks enough. And so, like, if as we go through the Runeterra Open, like, if we played against Fizz in 6 separate matchups, I wouldn't be surprised. If we played Fizz in 3 matchups, I wouldn't be surprised either. And so that's why I ultimately worry about bringing these lineups like this to where we have all these silences in all of our decks. And if you play against some matchups, those silences just aren't relevant. But we keep finding all these crazy spots to where the silences just feel so good, whether or not that would have been silencing an Ava Achiever, silencing the Draklorn Inquisitor, having the silence and suppresses against things like Aatrox Vayne with a V, to where if you get the silence onto their 4/3 scout unit that has an equipment on it, the game is just fucking done. Like, you have so many spaces to where the equipment have the opportunity to be good, that I think that they're actually going to be relevant in this format. And so I don't think that that brings itself together often. Like, I think we've been kind of on the verge of metas to where silence and suppress is really a playable card. And I think in the past to where it was close to playable was because we were just in the darkened environment, right? And having the ability to blow up an equipment for 1 mana. But we're getting these kind of like nice side scenarios to where I think it's actually going to be fairly reasonable in our battles later on today. And so, good stuff, fun set of games. I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. And so, hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way, and you had a good time watching. This is Busted Me. Thank you for being here.